Hi everyone, I've got a very exciting announcement to make today. It's something I've been waiting to share with everyone for quite a while. It's a project I've been working on for ages. I've put a hell of a lot of effort in to this, a lot of hours and a lot of brain power. So yes, I'm very excited to say that I have recently just finished making a document for every last cross-edge case for the Hoya method on 5x5 where at least one piece is solved. So what I mean by that is when you have your last three pieces for your final cross-edge in Hoya to go in the DF slot, one of those pieces will be already solved in the DF slot and the other two could be in any place on the cube already. This also includes cases where you've got two pieces that are solved and only one piece is elsewhere. And obviously if you have all three pieces solved, then that's skipped. So I will link this doc in the description, and I am now going to do a bit of a run through, tell you all about it, and tell you how I think it should best be used. So I worked out that in total there are 398 possible cases for this, which does sound like a lot, I know. That's approaching like ZBLL territory. However, the best way I think to sort of treat this is sort of like F2L on 3x3, where you don't necessarily learn one solution for each case as just an alg and you do that every time. Rather, I think you should learn it as just a solution for each case. And I think that will give you a much better understanding of how solving Hoya cross edges works in general, and how you can apply certain like triggers or setup moves to a particular case to change it into an easier case and things like that. So I've listed solutions for every possible case. A handful of cases, like a very small number of cases, I've only listed one solution just because there really is only one good solution that I can find, that I can think, and everything else is like significantly slower. But for pretty much everything else, there is like a load of solutions. I think I've given between 2 and 6 for all of them. Most cases have 3 or 4 solutions that I've listed that I can find as, you know, good and also like different enough, but that should be comparable in speed. I've also mainly prioritized shorter cases in terms of move count because I think that's really important. I would say most cases are probably between 7 and 10 moves, depending on how you do them, because like some cases I've listed like small r or small l slice moves or small m slice moves as one move, but you'll probably execute them as two when you're doing it, but hopefully that doesn't make too big of a difference. But I think pretty much every case should be about 12 moves or fewer. I also haven't listed every single solution that I can find for each case. I've mainly focused on the ones that are different enough from each other. So like for example, if you take the very basic, like U, R wide, U wide prime, R wide prime, insert for a good edge. You could also do that as like U2 R wide, U2 R wide prime, but there's no reason to do that. It doesn't save any moves. In fact, it adds 2 double moves, which is really bad. But you know that is an alternative solution. But for every case that sets up to that insert, I'll have only listed U R wide, U prime R wide prime, not like sledge or the U2 insert or anything like that. Just because, you know, those are too similar, and it's not the point of the document. It's to show you how you can use different setup moves to different cases. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a quick sort of walkthrough of the document. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and what I'll do is I'll pick out a handful of cases that I will sort of talk you through individually, and hopefully that will show you what I mean about, you know, slightly different solutions. I'll pick ones that have got, you know, slightly shorter and slightly longer solutions and compare them, and I'll show you how they work and how I think you should use them. Okay, so here we are. This is what you will see when you open the document. We've obviously got last cross-edge cases on 5x5 for the Hoya method, and this is the please read me page. This is just the sort of intro overview. I'm not going to talk too much about this because you can read it for yourself, but I've shown the purpose of this document, the format and the notation. That's quite important. I'll talk about that in a minute actually. How I think you should use this resource in Solitude, but also how you can expand it to the rest of your cross-edge solving on 5x5 and also on 6x6 and 7x7. So if we go on firstly to the basic cases, this is all the cases where you've got two pieces solved. You can see down here at the bottom. By the way, I'm not screen recording this just because I've got a cube here and I want to show you some stuff along the way. So hopefully you can see everything, but you don't need to be able to read each case in too much detail from this angle. So the way I've organised it, I'll talk about this now actually. The way I've organised it, so I've grouped, there are 4 sheets down the bottom with cases on. We've got 2 pieces solved, which are in a minute, self-descriptive, and then left wing solved. So that's when you have this, of the 3 pieces, it's the one on the left. I'm calling that the left wing. When that's solved, case looks like this. Fairly self-explanatory. Then we have midge solved cases, so that's when the midge is solved like this, and then right wing solved cases where you have the right wing solved here like that. So within these groups, I've grouped them based on where the other pieces are, and I haven't provided any images for this because I have no idea how to make them. So I've just described where the pieces are and what orientation they're in. So within this 2 pieces solved case, for example, we've got both wings solved. So that would look, for example, like this. So you've got both the wings solved and it's just the midge unsolved, and it could be in any place on the cube. Same sort of thing. I'm not going to show them, but same, we've got left wing and midge solved, self-descriptive. And then if we slide across, we can see the right wing and the midge solved cases. Now there aren't very many of these. So if you are sort of more of a beginner or, wanting to experiment a bit more with your solutions, I'd recommend starting out here because these are probably some of the more common cases you run into, especially if you solve one cross edge at a time. So I would definitely recommend looking at these first. And so what I'm going to do while I'm here is show you a few of these, some examples and how I think they can be relevant. So the first case is probably one of the first things you learn when you're doing your cross edges on Hoya. You've got one wing unsolved and it's here in the U layer and it's oriented. This is what I mean by orientation, just following standard 3x3 rules. So if the cross colour is facing the top or the bottom, it's oriented. If the side colour is facing the top or the bottom, it's misoriented. And oriented edges in Hoya are known as bad edges because you can't just insert them with a 3-move trigger. You have to do a longer solution. Now the standard solution, so for this case we've got the wing oriented in UF. So if we go to left wing and midge solved here, that's this section, and then we have specifically this case here, which I'm highlighting, with the right wing oriented in UF. So that's what we've got here. Now, obviously, you can see I've got 7 cases here. There's quite a lot. But the whole point of this is to show you that the solutions that you're used to are certainly not the only solutions available, and they're probably not the best ones available. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we have a look, the first 2 cases on here are solutions you probably know for this case already. The first one, you've got R wide, U2, R wide prime to misorient that edge, and then just the simple insert like that. And then the second one is just from this angle. If you get it from here, you can just do R wide, U, R wide prime to misorient like that. And those are all very well and good, but they're 7 moves. The second one's 8 moves, and they're kind of long, and you don't want to be doing that like 5 or 6 times throughout your cross edges because that will waste a lot of moves. So alternatives. Nice easy one to start with. When you have this case, this midge misoriented case, instead of doing an insertion like that, another thing you can do is a sledge. So R wide prime, F, R wide, F prime. And that's useful. And if you notice, that started with an R wide prime. So if we go back to the original concept, when you have this wing here, when you do R wide, U2, R wide prime to misorient it, you can actually cancel that R wide prime into the sledge. So that case turns into now a 6-move case. So you've got R wide, U2, R wide 2, F, R wide, F prime. And that's quite nice. Other solutions, which are even shorter. I found a few 5 movers for this. So if you have the wing here, so for this case, by the way, I'm counting this case, this case, this case, and this case as all the same case because they're all 1 move away from each other. So if you do a pre-move to set up the wing here, another way you can solve this case is with ry2 u r2 u prime ry2. So that's nice. That could be another application if you specifically, after setting up a case, end with the wing here, because you can't misorient it without doing a U move first. So you could save that U move and just do that case. Yep, another alternative from this angle is you can think about this in a few ways. So I'll show you the way I would think about it. You can hide these 2 cross edges by doing a 3L wide, and that does bring this up here, but don't worry about that because then we can do U F2 U prime to put this edge in, and then 3L wide prime to solve that. So that's another 5 mover. That's quite nice. Then from this angle, for example, if you've got the wing here, you can do an R wide move, and then you can do a hedge on the left, and then R wide prime. Or same angle again, you've got the wing here, you can do R wide 2, you can do a left sexy move, and then R wide 2 again. So that's what I'm getting at with there being lots of different solutions to certainly the more basic cases. And it's worth saying at this point, for every case where I set up to, for example, that case, I haven't listed the same setup move and then all of those variations in the same thing, because I think that's a waste of space. And it should be obvious if you see, for example, that a case is setting up to, let's say, this case, then you should know that there are a couple of different ways to insert it. You can do that, or you can do the sledge. And, that's down to personal preference. Sometimes one will cancel a move or something like that over the other, in which case, obviously, do the shorter solution. But, there's a lot of different setups involved in this. So I haven't listed all of them, but you can see here in the base cases, I have listed all of them. And so this is why I think you should start with these. So another example is if we go just over here to this case. This one is another common one you've probably run into before. Same 2 pieces solved, except the right wing is now oriented in the front right slot. And the most common solution for this is to do like double inverse sexy but with wide moves. So you would go R wide, U prime, R wide prime to put the edge here, and then U, R wide, U prime, R wide prime, like that to solve it. And again, same thing as before, because we know about the sledge case for when the wing is here, you can just do R wide, U prime, R wide 2, F, R wide, F prime. That's a nice solution. You can also just do, to put that edge here, you can just do a sledge, or you can do a wide sledge if you want, and then another wide sledge or something like that. You can also just take this out with F moves. You can do F prime U F, R wide U R wide prime, R wide U prime R wide prime, sorry. Or the shortest solution I found for this case is a 5 mover. You can do R wide, F, R prime, F prime, R wide prime. And that's really nice. Another version of this is you can do R wide 2, and then just insert this wing into the top with U, R prime, U prime, R wide 2 prime. So yeah, you can see there's a load of different variations for these pretty basic cases. So definitely have a play around with these and see which one you prefer. Now I'm going to move on to possibly the most important case in this whole document, and that is this case here. As we can see, we're in the left wing solved sheet. We've got the midge oriented in UF, so that's here, and then we have the right wing misoriented in UB. So that is here, as you can see. So we've got this piece, and this piece. And you might know this case, but you might not, so I'm going to show it now. This is 3R wide, U2, 3R wide prime. It's a 3-mover just like that, and it's one of the easiest cases that I often see people not know. Like they might do M prime U2 M, and then insert that or something, or insert the wing first and then do that. But this case is so crucial, because the really important thing about this case that I've discovered while doing this is the only basic 3 or 4 move trigger for cross edges that solves 3 completely separated pieces. Every other trigger will solve a case where you've got 2 pieces, at least 2 pieces joined together like this. So like that, or like that, or just, even the M prime U2 M cases, you've got both the wings solved. I'm counting those as, in the same slot. But with this, all 3 pieces are in different slots. And when we get further down the line with more complicated cases, this is going to be so, so crucial. So yeah, that case has sort of become almost a backbone for this whole document, because of how convenient it is to set up to that case rather than other basic cases. And I think it's only 3 moves as well, where a lot of the basic inserts are 4 moves. So I think this will save a lot of moves, and I think that there are so many opportunities to implement this into your solves that people probably just don't know about. And that's what I've discovered, and that's why in this doc I've got so many different solutions for every possible case, so that you can see every case where it's possible to set up to this and compare it, to other solutions where maybe you solve one piece at a time, and then you can see that different cases have different solutions that are actually, significantly better than others. So that's the sort of the basic cases covered. So now I'm going to go over a couple of examples of this where you can see, setting up to more basic cases, and even, completely different solutions that I think are also worth considering. So the first case we're going to go for is another case in this set. We've got the midge oriented in UF, but this time the right wing is oriented in the back left slot. So that's here, if you can see that. Now this looks like quite a bad case. Now you could do, what you could do is just solve one piece at a time. You can solve the midge like that, and then you can solve this wing with the R wide 2 trick, and then insert like that. But that's kind of a lot of moves, and it feels like there's going to be something better. So what you can notice here, we've got the wing solved, the midge is already oriented in the right position, and this wing is actually just 1 move away from being here where it needs to be for the previous insertion. So you can just do a B prime, 3R wide, U2, 3R wide prime, B. And that solves otherwise quite a nasty case. So that's exactly the kind of applications I'm talking about with that previous case. Okay, so the next one, we're going to scroll over a bit to the set where we have the midge misoriented in the front right slot, and the right wing in this case is oriented in the UF slot. So this case looks like this. As you can see, we've got left wing solved again, the midge is here, and the other wing is here. So what you can do for this case is you can start off with a sledge, but you can insert a U move in there. So you can do R prime, F, R, and now you can see we've got this wing and this midge positioned opposite each other, which is what we want for here. And this is now misoriented. But before we do that last F move, we can do a U prime to set the midge, to set the wing up to the back, and then an F, and then insert with 3R wide U2, 3R wide prime. So that's really nice. But this case also looks quite bad if you solve one piece at a time. You can do that, and then you've got this over here, which isn't great. But another completely different solution that, might be faster for you, so you can do an F to set up to this case where you've got a midge solved and the wings are here and here. And this is actually now quite a nice case because both these wings are 3-move inserts. So you can do L wide prime, U prime, L wide, R wide, U, R wide prime. So, that's an alternative. And as you can see, we've got 2 more cases listed here that you can also check out and see if those are even faster. So the next one I want to show is from the same set. This time we've got the right wing oriented in the BR slot. So what that looks like. Is this. So again, we've got left wing solved, the midge here, and this time the other wing is in the back like this. And this also looks like quite a bad case. So you could, as before, just solve one piece at a time like that, and then do, that to solve the wing. But that's a lot of moves. So what you could instead do is to set up to 3R wide, U2, 3R wide prime again. This time, this is really cool. I'm really, really pleased with finding this because I don't think anyone else knows this at the minute. It is quite risky, but you can do S, R, S prime. And now you can see we've got these in the U layer. So they're a U prime and then the insert. And obviously you do kind of need a fairly stable cube to do this on. So it's not going to be the easiest for everyone. But I think with a bit of practice, you can definitely get there. And again, like I was saying before, there are completely different options for this. Because another thing you might notice is, if you're familiar with normal edge pairing, this wing and this midge are just a slice away. So what you can do is you can do a U-wide slice. You can take these out with R, U prime, R prime, slice back, and now you just have this 3-move insert there. And that's not bad either. Okay, so the next case that I'm going to show is from generally quite a bad set, or quite an awkward set you might think at the start, and it's this set where you've got the midge misoriented in the slot. So what that looks like is this. You've got the wing solved and the midge is flipped next to it, and that's kind of annoying, right? So if we take the case that also seems, really bad in general, you've got the right wing misoriented in the back left slot. Now this seems like an awful case, doesn't it? Because you can't solve this in 3 moves. You can solve this in 5 moves, but then you've got parity. You can solve it with, wide moves like that and kick the midge out, but then the midge is in like quite a bad position. So what I found you can do instead, if we look at these cases here, what you can do is you can notice that with an F setup move, we've now set up to slice, flip, slice. So you can do U wide, flip, U wide, F prime. And that turns quite a nasty case into actually a really convenient and nice one. Another cool thing, not too dissimilar, is from the midge oriented in BL set. So the midge is here, you can see. And then the right wing is oriented in UF like this. So again, really doesn't look like a great case. But if we do an F to set up, we now have this and these 2 pieces, just a slice move apart. So we can do a U wide slice here. And now this, still doesn't look great because you can't exactly, flip this. But if you look, this piece is going to go back here when we slice back. And we can put this block of 2 pieces into this slot in just 5 moves. So we can do L, F prime, U prime, F, L prime. Then we can slice back and we've just got an F move away. So again, quite a nasty case, but actually when you think outside the box, it can be really nice. Now it's worth saying at this point that the cases with the right wing solved are all actually just mirrors of the cases with the left wing solved. So it's, if you want to learn them, I would say it's probably a good idea to work out which cases are mirrors of which, and then maybe learn them at the same time. Because I've listed all the same solutions, but mirrored for the cases where the right wing is solved as I have for the cases where the left wing is solved. So I'm not going to go over any of these, but I will go over just a couple of the midge solved cases. because in general, what I've found, I think, is that the midge solved cases aren't quite as nice overall. I think mainly because the cases where the midge is unsolved, you get a lot more options for doing like U-wide slices to set up pieces, or you can set up a lot more easily to cases like 3R wide U2, 3R wide prime, stuff like that. But I will show you a few tricks I found for cases in this set. So the first case, we've got left wing oriented in UF, really obvious one, and the right wing is oriented in FR. And this is what it looks like. So as you can see, we've got the midge solved. The left wing is oriented in UF. Now be careful here, because even though it's on the right, it is the left wing, because as you can see, it's meant to go down here. So just be careful with that. And then we also have the right wing oriented in the FR slot. Now this looks like quite a bad case. You can solve one piece at a time. You know, you could do that. You could even here, you could even cancel into that and then insert it. But, you know, this is really not, it's really not what you want to be doing. But something you could notice that's really cool here, the wing and the midge are both opposite each other and they're in the same orientation. So if we did an F2, you can see the midge is set up to 3R wide U2, 3R wide prime. But what you can also notice is that this wing is oriented and it needs to be misoriented. So how do we fix that? Well, we could do just one singular F move. It's an F prime in this case. So instead of doing an F2, which keeps the orientation, you can do one F prime move, and now it's misoriented. We can move it to the back with a U2, then another F prime, and we're set up to that. 3R wide U2, 3R wide prime. So this case that looks really ugly, both the wings are oriented, which is actually really bad. This is actually a 6 mover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that shows you the power of setting up to that case. Okay, and the last case I want to talk about for now is when we have both wings misoriented in UF. So you've got the midge solved here and both wings are misoriented here. So that is this case. And this doesn't look too bad. You can insert one piece at a time. That's 8 moves, and it switches between R and L moves. So that's not completely ideal. You know, you don't want to be doing that if you don't have to, and you don't have to. Because there's a really nice insert that's been known for a while, which is R wide prime, F2, R wide, F2. And that's obviously 4 moves, so that's by far the most efficient. The problem is you kind of need to regrip at least once to make it good, because otherwise you're doing 2 F2s and, you know, that's really not nice. But so what I discovered you could do instead of doing a regrip like this, how else can you get your thumb on the bottom, or how else can you get your thumb where the midge is? You can do an L. Or if you want to think about it like this, you can do a 4R wide. Now you've just got R wide prime, U2, R wide, U2, and then undo. And I think that's really, really fast. So that last tip is mainly more from a finger trick standpoint. If you don't mind regripping, or if you're already in that position, which I can't imagine why you would be, but if you are, then that could be a really good thing to do. So yeah, that's all the cases I'm going to go over now. Obviously, there are tons more. I'm only scratching the surface here with the setups. As you can see, like some of these down here are really quite long, but also quite fancy. So I think the most important thing is just to familiarize yourself with the simpler base cases like I showed you, and you know, with how all the basic triggers like R wide U, R wide prime, R wide U2, R wide prime, you know, L wide F prime, or, you know, whatever the triggers are, how they affect the other pieces on the cube, and how you can influence your unsolved pieces to set up to really nice cases. So there you go. I really hope that was useful, and I hope that you can take the time to dive into this document yourself and have a look through all of the cases, especially if there are ones that you think you don't have any good solutions for yet. Please check those out. And yeah, I really hope this is useful to any level of Hoya solver, really, because I think, you know, solving one cross piece at a time, as I said, is not very good. I think you should be looking to solve multiple pieces at a time wherever possible. But also, of course, this is not a definitive list. This is just every case I could find. I did search a lot of places. Obviously, I came up with cases by myself. I talked to other Hoya users. I scrolled back through every message that was sent in the Hoya channel of the Big Cubes Discord server. I've watched example solves, and this is everything I could find that I think is worth including. But I've probably missed stuff. So if anyone knows any solutions that I haven't put in here that they think are worth putting in, please, please, please tell me so that I can add them, because this is meant to be a collective resource for Hoya. I don't want it to be just like one person's doing. I want it to be a community effort, and I want the knowledge that other Hoya users have to be shared and to be freely available, because I think that's how the method is going to get better. So if you do have any of those solutions that you would like me to put in, please comment them on this video, because I will see them. I'll read all the comments. If you have Discord and you're in the Big Cubes Discord, stick a message in the Hoya channel. That's the best place for it, or DM me directly. Either way, give me a ping or comment on the video. I'll see it and I will put in any suggestions that you guys have. Also, if you want me to go into more depth on certain cases like I did just now, or certain like subsets that are maybe a bit tricky, then absolutely also please let me know, because maybe if I'm able to in the future, I can make videos kind of like this, where I go through certain subsets or certain cases and just talk more in depth about each solution, which ones I think are best, my finger tricks, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to see that, also let me know. I do also want to give a shout out to Christian for helping quite a bit with this. We several months ago now, we first talked about this and came up with the idea, started it back then, and then it never really got anywhere. But that was the original idea that I needed to kickstart this project. And also Christian's provided me with quite a few nice solutions to cases that I didn't know before or hadn't thought of. So thanks a lot for that. And also currently we are working on the possibility of maybe getting images added to the doc as well to help visualize each case, because currently, as you probably saw, it's just a description of the piece's location and orientation. But hopefully having images in there will help, and it'll also make the doc just look nicer. So yeah, big thanks to Christian for all his help. And yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope everyone can learn something from this, whether you're a Hoya user or not, although if you're not, I don't really know why you'd be watching this. But yeah, I hope this helps. I really, really do want to get this method developed, because I think it has a lot of potential. And I got fed up of complaining that it wasn't developed and not doing anything about it. So I've done something about it. And yeah, obviously, as I said, this is still a work in progress. So, keep coming back to it. Keep, playing around with each case, try and find as many different solutions as you can. And let's really push this method, because I think it can do a lot. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for watching, and happy cubing.